Live TV means you can't plan for what's about to happen. And sometimes there's some serious medical surprises. Let's watch it together. Beep whoop.
It looks like Ruben is in the lead, and here
comes wipeout. Oh! That could be a knee injury, an ankle injury, and a head injury, and a broken rib all in one.
Riverside Park, Rob Left, Global News.
Great sign-off, though. The fall was so bad. It reminds me of Johnny Knoxville's thing with the bull.
It's time for our How You Doing Halloween costume contest. We do it every year. It's always a lot of fun. Let's get started. Our first caress.
Oh.
The show cut to black and went to an extra long commercial break. But when it did come back on, Wendy was back up.
That was not a stunt. I'm overheated in my costume and I did pass out. But you know what? I'm a champ and I'm back.
Get evaluated. Overheating is a real issue. Dehydrating is a real issue. Heat stroke is a real issue. And it shouldn't be, oh, I just had a heat stroke, I fainted, I'm good to go now. That's not how it works. Okay, a little dancing, a little dancing. My dance moves are just as good as this. Yeah. What can go wrong medically here?
You okay? I think someone got hurt.
Usually when patients describe a knee snapping, they mean the knee gave out. Most commonly, this can happen with a meniscus or an ACL, sometimes a PCL injury if there's some kind of like weird collision that happened.
Didn't fall. I was catching her weight.
Oh, I see what happened. Okay, so there's potential for a meniscus injury there as well as an MCL injury. At that moment, if you have a tear of that ligament, you're just gonna get so much swelling and bruising. He's gonna get an x-ray to make sure that no bones are broken. He's gonna get some crutches. He's gonna get follow-up, get an MRI, find out that the medial meniscus and the MCL are torn, potentially either do rehab and or surgery, and we'll be back on his feet dancing his little heart away.
The problem is...
I did not expect a face first plummet like that. Call for help. First thing that we do, call for help before even investigating. And the microphone's still in her hand. The first thing you want to know is making sure that the person is conscious. Are they breathing? Do they have a pulse? Remember, if there's no pulse, you call 911 and you start those chest compressions, chest compressions, chest compressions. But it looks like she's kind of with it. So my prediction here and suspicion is that she had something known as a vasovagal syncopal episode, where because of nerves, because of extreme tension, her blood vessels dilated, her heart rate dropped, and as a result, she wasn't bringing enough circulation to her brain and she collapsed. This is very dangerous, not because of the actual situation that's happening with the low blood pressure, but the fall. The fall's the dangerous part. Like, she fell face first. As an EMT, you're really in a bad spot because you have no idea what just happened. The person isn't talking. You're trying to get information. You don't know, does this person have underlying medical conditions? So for their role, the most important thing is stabilizing the patient, getting them to an area where they can receive adequate care. She was treated for dehydration, released from the hospital. She returned for the showstopper. Okay, so dehydration can precipitate a vasovagal episode, but it can also cause a fainting episode all on its own. Because what happens is if you're dehydrated, meaning you haven't consumed enough beverages, you don't have water content, you actually lose a little bit of blood volume. And when that happens, you can't generate enough pressure to bring the oxygenated blood to where it needs to go, like the brain and the vital organs, especially when you're standing. And as a result, with this blood pressure drop, you actually just faint. As a life-saving mechanism, your brain wants you to go flat, because when you're flat, the lower blood pressure can still circulate the oxygenated blood throughout your body. Correcting dehydration in a severely dehydrated individual is also very important and needs to be done carefully, because if you rehydrate too quickly with the incorrect type of fluids, you can actually cause swelling in the brain and cause the patient to die that way. So there's a lot of things that need to be taken into account here. Ooh, she looks stressed.
She okay?
Were you okay?
Go get her, go get her.
What happened?
Is she gonna throw up?
Let her go.
Okay. Again, very difficult to figure out what's going on. I like this position. It makes it easier for the blood to return back to the heart and go up to the brain.
Michaela has a condition that's pretty rare.
In 7th grade,
I was diagnosed with vasovagal syncope.
That is not a rare condition. Now, maybe in individuals who it happens to quite often is a rare condition. There's two mechanisms at play during this type of syncope. One is increased parasympathetic nerve output, meaning that we're increasing that rest, digest mechanism, nervous system in your body that opens up blood vessels, which is good when you're lying down and relaxed, not good when you're trying to perform physically on stage because it drops your blood pressure, therefore not bringing oxygenated blood to the brain. And then at the same time, it shuts down sympathetic nerve firing. So think about this. The blood vessels in your legs expand, so blood pressure drops. Now, if your heart was allowed to sympathetically respond, it would increase its cardiac output by beating faster. As a result, you would be okay. You wouldn't even feel that something's going on. But because you're shutting down the sympathetic and overdriving the parasympathetic, you're creating a really bad disimbalance that causes someone to faint and potentially really hurt themselves.
Well, a very, very heavy debatation tonight. We had a very Darrison. But let's go to Chase and look for the bit. They have the pit.
Do we know what happened here? Look like potential stroke.
She claims it was a migraine.
There are types of migraines that could present with neurologic symptoms known as complex migraines. I would want a full workup to see if there was in fact a stroke. Now, in young, otherwise healthy people, sometimes the cause of a stroke can happen as a result of a PFO that generally people don't know about that they have. But as a result, if you ever have a blood clot in your leg and it starts traveling to your heart, it can transfer, instead of going into your lungs, into the left side of your heart through that hole, and then as a result get shot up to the brain, leading to a stroke.
This is me 10 years ago.
Dan Harris. I've read this book where he talks about this very moment.
Researchers report people who take cholesterol-lowering drugs called statins for at least 5 years may also lower their risk for cancer. But it's too early to prescribe statins slowly for cancer production. At this point, I realize I'm helpless, so I bail right in the middle. That does it. We're going to go back now to Robin and Charlie. I knew with rock-solid certainty that I had just had a panic attack on national television.
Panic attacks are a real phenomenon, and people think that they're all in their heads. Panic attacks may start in the mind, but they continue out to the rest of your body, which means that you feel like your heart is racing 1,000,000 miles an hour. You can't take a deep breath. There's an impending feeling of doom. You feel weak, you feel numbness, tingling. That's why so many people will describe it as a near heart attack episode, and sometimes we do want to rule out a heart attack.
I spent years in war zones where I covered the heroics of our men and women overseas and got a real taste of both the horror and the adrenaline of combat. After years of always barreling forward, when I finally slowed down, it was as if my mind revolted and I got depressed. And so in my free time, I briefly but stupidly began self-medicating. And it was those recreational drugs, my doctor would later tell me, that almost certainly produced the on-air panic attack.
I wouldn't say it's necessarily those drugs that caused it. They could have indirectly caused it by increasing the feelings of anxiety, because a lot of people will take feel-good drugs when they're depressed, and as a result, those feel-good drugs will mess with your neurotransmitters, leading to higher highs but also lower lows, and as a result, withdrawal symptoms that can make it feel like you're having a panic attack or make it feel much worse, so much so that it could disrupt you in your place of work. I do recommend you read Dan Harris's 10% Happier. Check it out on Audible, my partner. Stuff went wrong during my own live event, my tour, my Alive tour. Click here to check out everything that went wrong. As always, stay happy and healthy. And sorry for the hair.